ouvintes do Brasil, sejam bem-vindos mais uma vez à nossa sessão das 11h30 da manhã, do dia 26 de setembro. A gente vai conversar um pouco com a Luisa Alejandra Jiménez Cubría. Ela vai conversar um pouco com a gente sobre pedagogia verde e letramento ambiental, conectando o currículo à ação climática. Mas antes de apresentar a Luisa Alejandra, eu gostaria de fazer a minha audiodescrição. Eu sou um homem branco, eu uso barba, e hoje eu estou usando uma camisa xadrez branca com listras azuis e verde aqua. E no fundo eu coloquei um fundo que comemora os 90, um fundo virtual que comemora os 90 anos do British Council. Então, continuando, conversando, apresentando um pouco a Luisa Alejandra Jiménez Cubría, ela, ela tem uma formação acadêmica muito diversa, muito diversificada. Ela tem uma paixão por aulas de inglês dinâmicas que integram disciplinas para criar aulas envolventes. Ela tem experiência em abordagem CLIO, com crianças e pessoas holísticas, que enriquecem as suas aulas de língua inglesa. Ela se destacou como professora, coordenadora e consultora, demonstrando liderança no desenvolvimento de currículos, especificamente para a área de língua inglesa. Atualmente, Luisa trabalha como consultora acadêmica na Helbling English. Então, sem mais, eu deixo vocês com a Luisa Alejandra Jiménez Cubría.
Hello all, good morning. Welcome to this workshop named Green Pedagogy and Environmental Literacy, Connecting Curriculum to Climate Action, where we will discuss how to connect these two things, the environmental issues and everything, to our students' lives to make them productive in our society. My name is Luisa Alejandra Jiménez Cubría. I have a bachelor's in biology and a bachelor's in pedagogy, and I've been working in the ELT world for over 6 years now. For this workshop, first we're going to take a look at environmental literacy and its importance. Then we will explore green pedagogy and how the two connect. And finally, we're going to walk through a project with the green pedagogy approach, and you will have a chance to do some activities of your own. So let's get going. So first of all, to start, what is environmental literacy? I would like to ask you what comes to mind when you think of this, if you have ever heard about it before, and what you think it entails. So, environmental literacy is basically everything that encompasses experiences, understanding, and action. The key for this is understanding and connecting what we know to what we do. While knowledge and understanding are very important components of environmental literate citizens, it is not everything. We have to have this connection between what we say and what we actually do in our lives. Therefore, an environmentally literate person makes informed decisions concerning the environment, is willing to act on these decisions to improve the well-being of other individuals, societies in the global environment, and participates actively in civic life. An environmentally literate person has, first of all, knowledge and understanding of a wide range of environmental concepts, problems, and issues. It has a set of cognitive and affective dispositions and abilities. And third, has the appropriate behavioral strategies to apply that knowledge and understanding in order to make sound and effective decisions in a range of environmental contexts. While it is important to understand that environmental literacy is more than comprehending, it is about demonstrating capabilities. While students need to understand and need to know about, for example, photosynthesis or water quality, those facts alone do not demonstrate that environmental literacy. It's not just about knowing, it is, as I said, about acting. And these students in today's age need to understand that those ecological, economical, and cultural connections between humans and the environment affect the overall well-being of the environment and of people around the world. They must recognize the impact of the decisions that they make themselves and that other individuals make and the governments. So why is this environmental literacy so important? Why is it worth discussing? Why are we talking about it today? Well, it is a key component of global citizenship and a vital skill for the 21st century. How come? Well, it helps students in their daily decision making. It helps to form a connection between the responsibility towards nature and the responsibility that they have in society. It empowers action of environmental justice and sustainability, and it improves the overall well-being and quality of life. These are some of the components of environmental literacy. They are basically very intertwined with each other, and they are very obvious if you would like to see it that way, but they include affect, ecological knowledge, sociopolitical knowledge, the knowledge of environmental issues, cognitive skills, environmentally responsible behaviors or REB, and additional determinants of those REB, which can be education and the access to certain resources in society. So what is the need that we have for this environmental literacy today? Well, it is sort of obvious to say that the environment sustains all life on Earth, and that currently we are facing unprecedented environmental challenges. If we are talking about this now, the students that we are educating that will be citizens active in social life and decision making in 5 years, these students will face even more unprecedented environmental challenges. So we need to prepare them now for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, the goal of environmental education overall is a sustainable future for all and the development of an environmental literate society. However, this environmental literate society is not an easy thing to accomplish. This environmental literacy is not reached easily. Why? Because there's a lot of things that go into it, a lot of self-studying, a lot of recognizing within ourselves and what we can do. And it is also a slow burning process. So this environmental literate community that we are trying to build is formed of members that are capable of taking individual and action and making well-informed decisions collectively as a society, and also recognizing that public policy impacts the environment. It is not just about doing fundraisers for planting trees or stuff like that. It is also about themselves recognizing that every time they do small actions like opening the faucet or buying something online or voting, they are having decisions and they are taking steps towards or against the environment. So now, having said this, I want to tell you a bit about the guidelines for green teaching. These guidelines are in reality quite simple and kind of very intuitive, but we list them as follows. The first one is that the learner is an active participant in the instruction. This instruction should be guided by the learner's interests, meaning that, yes, we need to tackle environmental issues. Yes, it's important, but we need to tackle them in a way that is appealing to our students. If we just try to preach to them about the environment and about pollution and stuff in a approach that is not attractive to them, it won't get through. The second is that the instruction provides opportunities for all learners. This opportunity is to enhance their capability for independent thinking and effective responsible action. The third one is that educators must take an equitable approach to this instruction, meaning that they are going to incorporate all different perspectives and points of view into it. All of their students need to have a say and all students need to be heard. And the fourth one is that environmental literacy depends on a personal commitment. This personal commitment is going to be about applying the skills and the knowledge that they have acquired to help ensure that the environmental quality of the planet and the overall human well-being is being worked on. Now, all of these guidelines are put into a framework of how the guidelines are organized. They are organized into 4 different strands. We are going to have a very quick look at it. It's not very specific, but just for your information, these 4 strands are divided as it goes. The first one is questioning, analysis, and interpretation skills. Here we are going to teach our students to question, to design investigations, to collect information, to evaluate the accuracy and reliability of that information, to organize and analyze that information, for the older students to work with models based on that information, and to draw conclusions and to develop explanations about the information that they gather. The second one is the environmental processes and systems. Here we are going to have some divisions. We're going to have Earth's physical systems, human systems, which include individuals, societies, political structures, and economic systems, and how these human systems and the environmental systems connect. The third strand is the skills for understanding and addressing. Here is going to be skills for analyzing and investigating environmental issues and the skills for decision making. And the fourth one is personal and civic responsibility, which is recognizing rights and responsibilities within themselves and within societies and accepting personal responsibility. Now that we have seen what environmental literacy is, we are going to have a look at green pedagogy. Why? Because we are talking about building environmentally responsible and literate citizens. How are we going to accomplish that? As I said, it's not easy. There's a lot of information and research and building of character that goes into it. One of the ways that we can do this is through the green pedagogy approach. The green pedagogy approach is going to give us a very structured guideline to how we are going to manage to build this environmental literate society. Now, I would like to ask you if you have any idea of what green pedagogy is. What comes to mind? Have you heard about it before? What do you think it entails? And having said that, I want to tell you this definition that we have built up about green pedagogy, that is a permanent process in which individuals and communities become aware of the environment and learn the knowledge, the values, skills, determination to act individually and collectively to solve present and future ecological problems. Green pedagogy is a 6-step framework for planning lessons and learning experiences based on sustainability and its perspective of how we should frame things that can be applied to different educational fields and levels. And we can really take it as simple as one activity to build it into an entire project, and it's going to give us a very structured approach to how we should plan our lessons if we want to delve into this process of being and building environmentally literate citizens. Now, you may wonder, why should we use this? Is it really useful? Should I incorporate it into my classes? Should I even pay attention to this approach? And I would say yes, of course you should. Besides the fact that it offers a structured lesson planning approach to achieve these embedded sustainability competencies, it is important to know that it will help you in any vocational or academic field, and that it's beyond just checking the mark of developing an environmental curriculum or having a green activity in your lesson plan. It is really going to help your students, your curriculum, your institution to build this society of students that are interested in the environment and that are working towards something bigger than themselves and taking action and responsibility for what they do and how they think and how they live. So how does green pedagogy accomplish this? Because it sounds very fancy and it can accomplish many things, but how is it going to do it? Well, it's going to do it through the control appeal to the emotions of the students and through the explicit uncovering of the learner's values. We are going to take a look at this a bit further, but in one of the stages of green pedagogy, we are going to challenge their beliefs and their values and how they think of things, and this is going to help them and lead them towards reflection. So through green pedagogy, the students not only learn about school topics from a sustainability perspective, but they also apply what they have learned directly in their societies, in their immediate daily lives, and with their families and their friends. The key feature of green pedagogy is that the process is based on local action, which means that it will have an immediate application to what the students have just processed in the classroom. And students are led to reflect on the potential of that local action for the future. meaning that wider implications of what they have learned is also explored through this approach. Now, the aim of green pedagogy, what are we aiming towards? A greener future, a cleaner city, a cleaner school? What is the point that we are trying to get at here? Well, we are trying to uncover and explore their learners' values. By what? By provoking their emotions and by extending their perspectives. And to guide learners to guidable and actionable vision that is possible to apply in their local context and in their immediate daily lives. That is the aim. And we want to go beyond surface learning, which I mean with this is that we want to go beyond the classic school or classroom recycling project that we make an activity out of a piece of cardboard that was spare or something like that. We want to go beyond knowledge, beyond skills, to target long-term attitudes and mindsets. Why? When we target attitudes, the aim is to achieve deep learning about sustainability based on a more conscious understanding of how actions such as the way we plan or prepare a meal supports or negates the students' existing values. In this way, we are going to achieve sustainable practices that cross over into other areas of the students' lives, in their lives at home, at work, or in their community, which means that these practices and this knowledge is going to be deeply engraved in their lives. Now, it all sounds very nice, but how are we going to do this? All these competencies and mindsets and everything that need to be installed in our students are going to be tackled in a structured manner. This approach for green pedagogy is the one that we are about to discuss. It has been tried and tested, and it has come with good results. This is a general overview of the green pedagogy approach and the model. This model, we can see that it's going to provide a template for the activity planning for our class with the 6 blue dots that you see at the base of the spiral. And these 6 dots represent the recommended planning structure and sequence of an activity. And we will see them in further detail a bit further ahead. As we can see in this model, we have 3 main components. We have the green pillar in the middle, the blue spiral that goes around it, and then this 5 little triangles at the bottom. We will explore each of these components now. Now, this model that we are going to be discussing is not restricted to one timetable lesson. It's not just one class and then that's it. It can be stretched over through many series of connected lessons. And this could mean that it represents a case study or a project, a research activity, a lab activity, some work or practice placement, or a field activity. It is not at all restricted to the classroom in 1 hour of class or one session of 2 hours. No, we can stretch it over many, many classes. And these 6 steps that we are going to be talked about can be applied across disciplines and can also be applied in different levels of education. It doesn't matter if it's lower primary to higher education. It works regardless of it because it's designed to do so. Now, the 6 steps that I was telling you are in a rising spiral across the main pillar. And what this means is that it's going to represent the continuous nature of this learning process that we're going to be doing with our students. This means that this process is always going to keep going as they acquire more experience-based competencies around the main values of the green pillar, which we are going to describe now. They are economic well-being, social justice, environmental health, all in the center, and the spiral goes around it. And green pedagogy is something that, as I said, should not be a one-off activity, not in one class, and not just something that, okay, we're going to do this recycling project and we are never going to touch on it again. No. It should be something that develops through classes and through lessons so that students can really take all the knowledge in. And a major reason for this is that sustainability is always seen as a competence that can only be developed over practice. So we cannot just do a one-off thing. It needs to be developed over time. Another important aspect of this structure, this diagram of green pedagogy, is that at the very top of the spiral, it refers to practical competencies. This means that there are other skills, other abilities that our students need to develop along with the sustainability ones, but we cannot do them separately. We cannot do the green competencies and green skills or green abilities completely separate from the other academic or vocational competencies. We need to develop them side by side, hand in hand, so that students can really see how both of them tie in and how they need to apply them in their daily lives. If they don't see this sort of match between both of them, they are not going to consider them useful, and they are not going to be able to apply them further on in their daily lives. And as I said, it needs to be an embedded practice. It needs to be something that they can see, that they can easily do in their daily lives, rather than just a separate activity from the curriculum. And about the 5 triangles at the bottom, these are the pedagogical foundations of our model, and they are interlinked with each other. From left to right, we are going to describe each of them, starting with transdisciplinarity. Transdisciplinarity refers to the literacy and the ability to understand concepts across multiple disciplines. The typical school timetable is divided into different subjects, and each subject has their hour of class or their 2 hours of class. But green pedagogy encourages teachers to cross disciplines, meaning what? That we need to be able to connect one thing to the other, because it is very typical for us as teachers to say, we are talking about the math lesson or something, and our students come up with a question regarding something else, and we say, no, that's not from this class. We will get back to it when we're in that specific subject. No, we need to be able to have this transdisciplinarity with our students so that they can see how everything is related. The second one is contingency. This refers to the overall contingency theory, which says that every situation is unique, and therefore there is no single optimal solution for everything. There is no cure-all for all problems, right? So whenever we see a new topic with our students in class, our learners need to be able to be encouraged from the teachers to evaluate the internal and external situations and factors so that they can come up with their very own specific solutions to each problem. This leads our learners to propose viable solutions to real-world problems that could actually be implemented in their daily lives. The third one is the restructuring of linear paradigms. This means that we are going to explore problems and their solutions in a more holistic and non-linear way due to the complex nature of the sustainability approach, right? This means that our students are going to be able to explore different types of solution and not just stick to one lane, but maybe come up with more creative solutions for some of the issues that are presented. This aspect of the green pedagogy approach is not only relevant for discussing already existing situations, but to conceive different future scenarios as variables we know may change in the future. Systematic thinking is the fourth one, which means that we need to be able to develop sustainable solutions for real-world problems as the ones we are currently facing. And this encourages problem solving through the defining of the problem. And after we and our students define the problem, students need to recognize that the problem is a part of the system from where the problem derives from. It is not an external factor to the system. It is a part of. There is no system that is not flawed. So they need to be able to recognize that part. And looking at different aspects of that system, which can be adjusted to come to a closer solution to the problem. And the last one is going to be thinking on the meta level. The green pedagogy approach is more than mere knowledge transfer. As we have seen, it talks also about action. So meta thinking is the process in which our students are going to be able to develop a sustainable mindset around relevant issues and collaboration and values. And to that, we need to add that important layer of meta thinking. It supports the idea of novel solutions to very complex problems. Now, it is recommended that once a teacher or an institution has made the decision to promote this sustainable mindset in their learners or in their communities, most activities should follow the green pedagogy format in the way that was described in the 6 steps of the model, which we will take a look at now. As I describe these 6 steps, it is important to note that when teachers have a choice in selecting the issue or the problem that they are going to tackle with their students, we should always try to come up with what we call wicked problems or ungoogleable problems, meaning that we come up with an issue or a project or an idea that is not so easily find in Google, just like what is photosynthesis or what is the garbage separation system. Something that is a bit more complex than that, so that our students are encouraged to really think about a solution. And also that it is a problem that has direct relevance to the learners' lives and to the learners' preferences. Now, before we start describing these 6 steps and going through them, I would like you to think about an issue or a project that you would like to work with your students, or maybe one that you have done so before, that you have worked on before with your students, that you would like to retackle using the green pedagogy approach. I will give you a minute to think about it before we start. So really think about these issues that are complex, that maybe you have seen before with your students, but you felt like it wasn't that successful. You felt like you didn't really get through to them with the main point of everything. So think about a problem, think about a project, think about something that you have done or you would like to see in class, and we will apply these 6 steps of green pedagogy to that project. Now, as I describe the 6 steps for you in more detail, I will use an example of menu planning. This is going to be my project, my activity with my students, to help illustrate how each step that I'm going to go through follows the model of green pedagogy. My project is called "The Menu Today Can Change Your World Tomorrow." The main purpose of this lesson is to raise the students' awareness of the criteria to use in preparing menus for specific targets, such as maybe kindergartners or hospital patients or adults in elderly care, different types of target audiences. The conventional way of tackling this topic is by focusing on nutritional values or individual preferences. And the way we usually do it in Mexico, at least, is when we see the Eat Well plate, and then we have students draw the plate in a piece of cardboard or in their notebooks, and then divide the different sections of the food groups, and then draw what they would put in each food group, right? But we are going to add layers of complexity to it by be tempered by budget constraints or dietary requirements, things like this. The aim of this project is to build the awareness of the complexity that goes into planning a healthy and sustainable nutrition, and that we can use some extended criteria while doing so. As we move forward with each step, I will explain using this menu as my example. And at the end of each step, I will give you a minute to come up with your own activity for each of the steps based on the project that you have thought of a minute ago. So these are the first 3 steps. We are going to take a closer look at each one of them. We are going to start with the confrontation with the problem. In this stage, our learners must come to the realization that there is a specific problem that exists and that needs to be solved. And we are going to find out what our learners already know about the topic. We are going to explore in my project idea the concept of what a meal is. what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show my students a wide variety of meals, some of which will probably push the boundaries of what is considered a meal for some of them, by showing them pictures of traditional meals, hospital meals, insect dishes, vegan dishes, etc. A key aspect of the green pedagogy approach is that we are going to try to evoke and use emotions in order to prompt action in our students. So in this particular activity, maybe most of my students would be sort of having a reaction to the idea of an insect-based meal, right? So I'm going to push that emotion and provoke that emotion by showing them different types of meals and what can encompass all of them. So now I would like you to think how you would start this first step. How would you start the confrontation with the problem based on the activity that you have thought of before? I'm going to give you a little minute to think about it. Think that it needs to be an ungoogleable problem. How would you confront it with the problem? This first step, is also bear in mind that it is not about breaking their ideas down, not yet. This is just to show them the problem that we are going to work with and try to make them interested in it. And we are not at the point of provocation yet. Now, for the second step, this one is called reconstruction. This is the step in which all the misconceptions that students may have about that issue or that project or that problem we are working with are going to be uncovered and confronted. Now, this reconstruction name refers to what we as teachers are going to put instead of the misconceptions. What information we are going to give our students to replace the misconceptions that they may have had about the issue. Here in my menu or meal plan project, I am going to ask my students to analyze different menu plans according to nutritional values, practical and dietary requirements, if it's good or not for daily life. And in this step, this is going to be the first part of the 6 steps where we are going to start making the conceptual change in our students, and where us as teachers are going to find out what their students believe about the topic. Not only what they believe about the topic, but what they believe they know about the topic, because we are tackling misconceptions. So they may have the wrong idea about the issue, about the problem, and we need to tackle those misconceptions. This stage is going to lead us directly into the next one, in which the students' perspectives is going to be widened. So how would you tackle this second step of reconstruction with your students based on the project idea that you are working with? Remember that this is the first part where we are going to start tackling all misinformation, misconceptions, wrong ideas, everything that our students may think they know, but maybe not be fully correct. Now for our third step, that is called provocation. This is a pivotal moment in green pedagogy approach. It's a very important step that needs to be tackled carefully. Here, the learners are prompted to suggest solutions by being provoked with the unexpected possibilities of the issue we are working with. Ideally, the provocation should come as a natural response to the direction in which our learners have been going so far. Therefore, this provocation step can neither be at the start of the lesson or of the project, nor it can be completely planned in advance, because it may come at different times. It may come immediately after the second step, or it may take students a couple of days to process information in order for them to reach the provocation step. And this stage is the second part of the conceptual change that we are going to be doing with our students, in which their beliefs and their thought and their whole sort of idea around the issue is going to be challenged. In this specific project that I'm working with the menu or the meal plan, I am going to show my learners images of mass food production, mass food consumption, and waste involving some of the menu plans that they had in mind and what that would entail. These images could also include images of intensive farming, use of pesticides, methods of animal husbandry regarding, for example, male pigs and milk cows, and also how much garbage is produced based on human waste food, right? Food waste, sorry. And at this point of the lesson, my learners should realize that they probably didn't think about everything, right? That there are things that they have built within their project, but that now having a look at this are not so viable or are not so good for the environment. For example, if my learners had thought, okay, I'm going to design this menu plan, but have not thought about maybe that people don't like lettuce, and then there are a lot of lettuce is going to be thrown away, and that's an incredible amount of food waste, then they have to reconsider all of that. And with this, our students are going to start to realize that within their own ideas of what is good or bad or what should be practical, there are many more embedded problems and issues in each of the steps and in each of our ideas. Now, for the 3 final steps, we have interaction, deconstruction, and reflection. For the interaction part, this is necessary for the learners to process and evaluate possible solutions in the light of a wide range of new perspectives that they gather from steps 1 to 3. This interaction stage is an opportunity for collaborative work with our students and for analytical discussion among them. At this point, it's very easy for the students to feel overwhelmed by feelings of frustration, and maybe they feel a bit powerless from the step before. So we are going to tackle this in this 4th step. For my project, I am going to handle this with a silent gallery walk with all of the menu or the meal plans that they have designed and that they have been working with. We would present all of them, and all of the students would walk this gallery with all of the menu plans. And after this silent walk, the students would be full of ideas to discuss what needs to be done in order to improve each and every single one of the menu plans. Then they would be able to discuss among them what they would change in each of the menu plans and have this exchange of information that could be very, very helpful for them. It is important to know that this is the final step of the conceptual change. We are no longer going to be tackling conceptual change beyond this point. At this stage of the project and of the approach, our students have been working with this conceptual change for 3 steps now, and now they should have a good idea of what needs to be changed and have a solution for it. The next step is the construction. This is needed to reduce the feeling of being powerless in the situation with our learners. And because the problems when we are talking about the environment and everything can be very overwhelming. And we are going to try to tackle that with this 5th step. In this stage, our learners are going to be prompted to relate what they have learned to their personal experience and to their personal lives. We are going to be asking them in my specific project to consider what could be changed in their school menus, in their school cafeterias, in their school shops, in order to be more environmentally friendly with food or to be better in whatever approach they are taking. One suggestion that could be come up with at this point would be to have all food labeled according to different aspects that they have previously discussed, adding icons to each of the items. For example, if a meal is organic, if it's vegetarian, if it is specific to a dietary need or to an allergy, or if it's produced according to an animal welfare benchmark, such as free range and things like this. In this way, the students are creating a viable, small, simple solution for a bigger real-life problem. And that takes us to the final step, which is reflection. In this final stage, our students are going to be required to create a vision of where their ideas from step 5 could lead. To embed the learning in this stage, it is equally as important to ask students what they have learned from this final stage, but also what they have learned throughout the entire process. We are going to be asking them what effect would their ideas from the previous steps would have if they were applied to a bigger context, to a worldwide context, or to a communal context. So, for example, in the project of labeling food, what would happen if we would do it maybe state-wise or city-wise? So, as to conclude this 6-step idea, the 6 steps do not necessarily are going to take the same amount of time. In some cases, it would be more appropriate to spend more time, for example, in step 3 than in step 4. But it's going to really depend on how your students react to the problem that you chose to work with them, and how your students react to each of the steps. Maybe your students are not really provoked by the problem, and step 3 is really short for them. But for most students, step 3 would be the longest ones because it would take a bit more time. But just take into account that it won't necessarily take the same amount of time, all of the steps with all of the groups. And you need to bear that in mind every time that you plan this project or this approach. So in conclusion, for this workshop, I would like to tell you that teachers, students, local communities, environmentalists, policymakers, students, everything, all must work together to foster the growth of environmentally literate and conscious students. Therefore, all ELT teachers need to integrate environmental issues into their education. This is essential to build a environmental literate community. This calls for the development of green pedagogy and environmental literacy-based instructions in teaching of ecological matters. The language curriculum in our schools and the people who are in charge of that need to develop environmental literacy syllabus in order for the teachers to be able to apply that in education. And it is necessary to have a common interest in improving the teachers' skills to deliver target environmental literacy and green pedagogy teaching in our schools. That will be all for me today. Thank you very much. I hope that you have a great Vivo 2024.
Teachers from all over Brazil, thank you for joining us once again. We are very happy to have Luisa here with us today to answer a few questions and comments that you've sent via the chat on YouTube. So Luisa, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Mexico. We are in very different time zones, so we appreciate your time and your flexibility for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here with you all.
Amazing. We're excited to have you. We have a couple of questions for you here. Can you please explain what CLIL is, and if it's possible to use this approach with more beginner learners? That's my main concern. Next question for you.
Sure. I actually love that question. CLIL is content and language integrated learning. This is my absolute favorite method to use with students because it gets them involved with everything. What does it mean? It means that we are going to use topics that are not just English topics, not just present simple or vocabulary with our students. It may be, yes, about the environment, but it can also be geography or a news topic or history, whatever piques our students' interest, we can bring it into our classroom to teach them English with. So I think for especially basic, I mean, CLIL works with all levels because as it is going to relate to the learner's interest, it's going to make them be more involved and be more aware of what's happening in class. So of course you can use CLIL with green pedagogy. It's, I think, one of the bases for it because it's going to integrate sort of an external topic into the language classroom. And for basic English learners, I think it's one of the best techniques to use because it's going to get them very, very involved with your class because it's going to be something that they care and that they like.
Amazing. Perfect. On green pedagogy, we have another question. How often do you recommend bringing green pedagogy topics to a class throughout a year?
I would suggest to do like 2 projects per year, so 2 topics per year, so that you have enough time to develop those projects. Sometimes we are very ambitious as teachers and we want to do 1 project per month or 1 project every 2 weeks. That is very heavy for us because we also have our own curriculum to worry about, and we have the topics, like a list of topics that we have to cover. So if you have 1 project every 6 months, it gives you enough time to actually get through everything with them, because we want the knowledge and the information to actually settle within our students, and for that we require time. So I think 1 topic or 1 project every 6 months is the ideal time frame for that.
Amazing. Perfect. We have another question. It's actually 2 questions in one. They're asking, when you talked about environmental literacy, depending on a personal commitment, would you say we need to focus on motivating our students? Does this connect to civic education?
I think civic education is connected to many things, and of course it relates to the environment. I think it goes hand in hand nowadays. I think it does require a personal commitment on the students, but also I think this is very important. If we ourselves as teachers don't believe what we are saying about the environment, if we just stand in our classroom and say, yes, the environment is so important, don't throw garbage in the street. If we are very nonchalant about it, our students won't also care about it. So the commitment first has to be with us as teachers in the topic that we are going to teach, for our students to actually believe it, care about it, and then take it with them to their own lives.
Amazing. Real motivation, right? From teacher
Yeah.
to student. Amazing. And we have a comment also. It says, thank you so much for the meal lesson plan. This is very applicable to the Brazilian context as well. Amazing.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad it relates to all contexts.
Amazing. Yes. So yeah, Luisa, thank you so much once again for joining us for this Q&A session. And just to remind everybody, we are going to be back for more sessions and more content on the ELT week at 4 p.m. Brazilian time. So Luisa, thank you so much. If you have any other comments to make or a goodbye.
I'd like to thank everyone once again. Thank you so much for your questions and for your time. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day. I know it's a bit later for you now, but thank you so much for your time and for this space to share this information with you. Thank you.
Thank you, actually. And we'll see you at 4 p.m.